Welcome to the deep dive. You've shared your sources with us, and we're here to basically pull out the really interesting stuff, the core ideas, so you get the picture without, drowning in details.
Exactly. Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed, hitting those aha moments.
And we've tailored this one specifically for you, the learner. You're curious, you want knowledge quickly but properly, and you definitely don't want information overload.
That's the goal. We respect your time and your curiosity. We've gone through what you sent us to really structure this well.
Okay, and our sources today, it's J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. A fan favorite, I think.
Oh, definitely. Book 3. It's a really pivotal year for Harry at Hogwarts. Things get darker. There's this big mystery with Sirius Black escaping Azkaban, and Harry and his friends, they grow up a lot.
Yeah, the excerpts you've sent give us some great windows into that.
They really do. Key moments, character stuff. It's good material.
All right, let's jump in. Harry's summer. Well, it's pretty miserable, as usual, back with the Dursleys.
Yeah, Privet Drive, they're muggles, obviously, non-magical, and they're still just terrified and sort of disgusted by his magic.
Trying to lock his stuff away, suppress it all. It never works, does it?
No, not really. It's kind of futile, but it shows their fear, that fear of the unknown, the different. Rowling really explores that theme.
But Harry's not just sitting there taking it. He's actually studying magic under the covers at night.
Right. He's got homework, that horrible shrinking potion essay for Snape, of all people.
Oh, Snape. Yeah, the pressure's on
Mhm.
there. Imagine getting caught by the Dursleys doing magic homework.
Exactly. It shows his commitment, though,
Hmm.
to Hogwarts, to learning. He's resilient.
Then it's his 13th birthday,
Yeah.
and he's expecting, well, nothing, which is just sad.
It really is poignant, isn't it? He's so used to being ignored by them.
But then Hedwig arrives, and there are actual presents from Ron and Hermione.
Yes, a real bright spot. It reminds him and us that he has this other family, his real family, in the wizarding world.
And great gifts, too. Ron sends that pocket sneakoscope. Maybe not reliable, but fun.
Yeah, Bill Weasley wasn't convinced, was he? But very Ron. And Hermione sends the broom care kit. So practical. So Hermione. Knows he loves Quidditch.
And Hagrid sends the Monster Book of Monsters.
Ah, yes. Classic Hagrid. You can just picture Harry wrestling with this biting book. It's needed humor right then.
Definitely. But hanging over all this is the news. Sirius Black has escaped Azkaban.
Yeah, that changes everything. And the Dursleys' reaction is just peak Dursley. Fear, but also that weird nosiness from Aunt Petunia.
Oh, totally. Uncle Vernon's blustering, Petunia peering through the curtains.
Mm.
They're terrified the neighbors will find out about Harry, about magic.
And now there's this escaped convict, portrayed as super dangerous, possibly coming after Harry. Their paranoia just ramps up.
Which leads Harry to try and leverage the situation, doesn't it? He really wants that Hogsmeade permission slip signed.
Desperately, he tries to strike a deal with Uncle Vernon.
Yeah.
He'll behave perfectly during Aunt Marge's visit if Vernon signs the form.
Aunt Marge. Oh, dear. That visit is looming.
It shows how much Hogsmeade means to him, though. That little bit of freedom, being part of the wizarding world properly.
Yeah.
He's willing to endure Marge for it.
And endure is the word. Her visit, well, it goes about as well as you'd expect. She's awful to Harry.
Relentlessly awful. Criticizing him, comparing him to Dudley, it just builds and builds.
Until he snaps, and she inflates. Like a giant, horrible balloon.
Yeah, that loss of control. It's dramatic, but you kind of feel like it was inevitable after everything he's put up with.
And that's it. He grabs his trunk and just leaves Privet Drive. Impulsively.
It's a huge moment for him, taking control. Even if he has no idea where he's going, he's just done with the Dursleys.
And how does he escape? The night bus. What an entrance into the wider wizarding world.
Oh, the night bus is brilliant. So chaotic, beds sliding around, Stan Shunpike the conductor, Ernie Prang driving like a maniac.
Such a contrast to Dursley's neat little house.
Absolutely. And Neville Longbottom's on board, too, which is a nice little connection back to Hogwarts.
He ends up at the leaky cauldron. And who's waiting for him? Not McGonagall, but Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic.
Yeah, that's a surprise, isn't it? Fudge is there, and he's weirdly lenient about Harry blowing up his aunt.
Right. We don't send people to Azkaban for blowing up their aunts. Quite a quote, considering.
It really is. He's clearly just massively relieved. Harry's been found safe. Avoids a whole ministry scandal.
Definitely different from the warning he got last year for Dobby's magic. And Fudge tells him to stay in Diagon Alley for safety.
Uh-huh. That feels significant. Like, Fudge knows more about the danger, probably related to Sirius Black. He wants to keep an eye on Harry.
Which makes sense, especially after Harry overhears that conversation later between
Yes.
Fudge and Madame Rosbarda and the Three Broomsticks.
Oh, that's a massive info dump, isn't it? We hear the official story. Sirius Black was the Potter's secret keeper. He betrayed them to Voldemort.
Devastating.
Yeah.
And that he killed Peter Pettigrew afterward.
Exactly. That's the narrative everyone believes. Though Rosmerta being surprised, remembering Pettigrew always trailing after James and Sirius. That's a little hint for us, maybe.
Good point. And the secret keeper concept itself.
Hmm.
One person magically holds the secret location. If they spill it, the protection's gone.
Right. And Fudge also mentioned something odd, doesn't he, about visiting Black in Azkaban?
Yeah, he seemed disturbingly normal. Like the Dementors weren't affecting him as much as they should.
That's a key detail. Dementors feed on happiness, make you relive your worst fears. So why wasn't Black a wreck? It plants a seed of doubt.
And the Azkaban guards, the Dementors, are apparently furious he escaped. Adds to the tension.
Totally. The Ministry's pulling out all the stops to catch him.
Okay, so Harry's now staying at the Leaky Cauldron getting ready for school,
Hmm.
which involves a trip to Flourish and Blotts, and the Monster Book of Monsters.
Ah, yes, the cage full of snapping books. It's magical world building and kind of foreshadows Hagrid's teaching style for care of magical creatures.
A little dangerous, maybe? He also gets his divination book, Unfogging the Future.
And it's got that black dog on the cover.
The Grim. Another bit of foreshadowing.
Definitely ties into the omens and Sirius Black again. The Grim keeps popping up.
Then the Weasleys arrive. Always chaotic. Always welcome. And Percy is head boy.
Oh, Percy. So proud. Mrs. Weasley's thrilled. Fred and George are, well, less impressed.
And his badge goes missing, poor Percy. And Ron's rat, Scabbers, is looking really unwell.
Yeah, those seem like minor things then, but they become important later, don't they? Scabbers especially.
So there's this background hum of fear, isn't there? Sirius Black is out there, the Ministry's involved, Dementors are mentioned. It feels different this year.
Absolutely. There's a real sense of danger hanging over everything, even just getting school supplies. The wizarding world feels less safe.
And that feeling carries right onto the Hogwarts Express. They meet the new defense against the dark arts teacher, Professor Lupin.
Lupin seems quite gentle, a bit shabby maybe, but then the train stops, freezes.
And the Dementor comes into their compartment.
That scene is chilling. The cold, the feeling of despair. And Harry hears screaming, passes out.
His first real encounter with them, it's brutal. And Malfoy, of course, mocks him for fainting.
Ugh, Malfoy. But Lupin steps in, gives Harry chocolate, seems to know how to handle the Dementors.
Yeah, he offers some reassurance. Seems capable, even if he is a bit mysterious.
Definitely. He makes a strong first impression, despite the circumstances.
At the welcome feast, Dumbledore drops the bombshell. Dementors are now guarding the school entrances.
Wow. Yeah, that really sets the tone, having those creatures right there at Hogwarts. It shows how serious the Ministry thinks the threat from Black is.
But amidst that gloom, there's good news. Hagrid is the new Care of Magical Creatures teacher.
Yes. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are so happy for him. They helped clear his name last year, so this feels like a real victory.
Shows Dumbledore's faith in him, too, giving people second chances.
Exactly. It's a lovely moment, but even then, Malfoy's sneering about Harry fainting on the train.
Yeah, he's just relentless. The house rivalries are strong as ever.
So, first lessons. Divination with Professor Trelawney.
Oh, Trelawney, what an entrance. All shawls and misty pronouncements from her tower room.
Very theatrical, and she immediately predicts disaster, doesn't she? Reading Harry's tea leaves.
And sees the Grim. The giant spectral dog. The omen of death.
Ron's freaked out. Harry's obviously worried, but Hermione...
Hermione's having none of it. Pure skepticism.
Totally. Her logical mind just clashes with Trelawney's whole approach. She thinks divination is, woolly, I believe.
Yes. Her argument that maybe people just die of fright after seeing the Grim because they believe it's an omen.
That's so Hermione.
It really is. Sets up her season-long battle with the subject.
Then, Care of Magical Creatures with Hagrid, his first lesson.
And he starts with hippogriffs. Ambitious.
Definitely ambitious. Proud creatures, easily offended. You have to show respect, bow.
Hagrid's enthusiasm is great, but maybe not the safest first choice, especially with someone like Malfoy in the class.
Exactly. Malfoy deliberately insults Buckbeak, doesn't bow. And Buckbeak reacts, defending his honor. Malfoy gets injured. Not seriously, but enough.
Enough for him to make a huge fuss and get his father involved. This is going to cause big trouble for Hagrid.
Yeah, that incident hangs over Hagrid for the rest of the year. Malfoy milking it for all it's worth.
But defense against the dark arts with Lupin is different. He actually seems like a great teacher.
He really does. Despite the shabby robes, that first lesson, dealing with Peeves the poltergeist by getting him stuck in the keyhole with chewing gum, clever.
Very effective. And then the Bogart lesson.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, the creature that takes the shape of your worst fear. It's revealing for all the students. Ron's is a giant spider, obviously.
And Harry's, his turns into a Dementor.
Which says so much about what affected him most deeply on the train. That fear, that memory loss, the cold.
But Lupin steps in front of him before he can face it properly.
And later explains why. He thought it might turn into Voldemort, and he didn't want that panic in front of the class. But he also realizes something deeper, doesn't he? Yeah, that what Harry fears most is fear itself. Which is pretty profound for a 13-year-old. Lupin really understands him.
He does. It shows real empathy. A great teacher.
Okay, so Quidditch season is coming up, and also the first trip to Hogsmeade weekend, which Harry can't go to.
Still no signed permission slip. He's stuck at the castle while Ron and Hermione get to go explore the village.
And that tension between Ron and Hermione is still simmering too, right?
Yeah.
Over Crookshanks, Hermione's cat, supposedly chasing Scabbers.
Oh, yeah. Ron's furious, convinced Crookshanks ate Scabbers, or is trying to. Hermione defends her cat. It puts a strain on their friendship.
Then the first Quidditch match. Gryffindor versus Hufflepuff. In a storm.
Terrible weather. And Slytherin had cried off, pretending Malfoy's arm was still too injured. Convenient.
Very. Hufflepuff wins, actually. Their new seeker, Cedric Diggory, catches the snitch.
Cedric. A fair player, seems like a good guy. But Wood, the Gryffindor captain, is devastated by the loss.
Wood lives and breathes Quidditch. And Snape. He's really gunning for Lupin, isn't he?
Definitely. Making snide remarks and potions, giving Lupin's friends, like Ron, horrible extra tasks. There's bad blood there, clearly.
And during that stormy Quidditch match, Harry sees the Grim again, up in the stands.
Yes. And this time, the sight makes him fall off his broom. From really high up. Dumbledore has to slow his fall.
That's terrifying. These sightings are really getting to him.
Understandably, it feels like a direct threat, or at least a terrible omen connected to him.
So after that fall, Lupin starts giving Harry private lessons, anti-Dementor lessons.
Right. To teach him the Patronus charm, a very advanced piece of magic.
Lupin explains how Dementors drain all happiness, force you to relive your worst memories. It's horrible. The Patronus is like a shield of positive energy.
But it's really hard to cast. You need a powerful, happy memory and a lot of concentration, especially difficult for Harry, given his past.
While this is going on, Fred and George decide Harry needs cheering up. And maybe a way to get to Hogsmeade after all.
Enter the Marauders map.
What a gift. Messrs. Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs are proud to present. Shows everyone in Hogwarts where they are. Secret passages.
It's amazing. Though Mr. Weasley did warn Harry earlier about magical objects that think for themselves. A bit of foreshadowing, perhaps?
Maybe. But Harry uses it. He finds a secret passage to Honeyduke's sweet shop in Hogsmeade.
His first trip. Finally gets to see Zonko's joke shop, the shrieking shack from a distance. Ron's thrilled for him. Hermione's worried he'll get caught.
Classic dynamic. But that trip to the Three Broomsticks over Christmas, that's when things get really heavy.
Yeah. He's under the invisibility cloak with Ron and Hermione, and they overhear Fudge talking with McGonagall, Flitwick, Hagrid, and Rosmerta.
And they hear the full story about Sirius Black. Or what everyone thinks is the full story.
That he wasn't just a supporter of Voldemort, he was James and Lily Potter's best friend, their secret keeper.
The one person who knew where they were hiding. And he betrayed them, led Voldemort straight to them.
And that after betraying them, he hunted down another friend, Peter Pettigrew, cornered him, killed him, and 12 muggles with a single curse, leaving only Pettigrew's finger behind.
It's absolutely devastating for Harry to hear this. Confirmation of the worst betrayal imaginable.
And they also mention Black is Harry's godfather, and that he laughed when he was arrested.
Fudge also repeats that strange detail about Black seeming okay in Azkaban, not driven mad by the Dementors like most prisoners. Still unsettling.
It is. It doesn't quite fit. But the main takeaway for Harry is Sirius Black is responsible for his parents' deaths.
His reaction is pure fury. He wants revenge.
Completely understandable. He's filled with hatred for Black. Hermione tries to urge caution, but Harry's consumed by it.
And adding to the misery, they visit Hagrid, who's just heard about Buckbeak's official hearing. Malfoy's father is pushing it.
Hagrid's terrified. He knows Lucius Malfoy has influence at the Ministry. He's worried Buckbeak will be sentenced to death.
And Hagrid accidentally let slip that he was in Azkaban himself briefly last year, and how awful the Dementors were.
Yeah, that adds another layer to his fear. He knows how bad things can get.
Then out of the blue, Christmas morning, Harry gets an anonymous gift. The best broom in the world. A firebolt.
Whoa. Ron is ecstatic, absolutely beside himself with excitement. Harry's stunned, but also suspicious. Who would send him that?
Hermione is immediately distrustful. Thinks it could be from Sirius Black, jinxed or cursed.
So she does something drastic. She goes to Professor McGonagall.
Right. Reports the broom. McGonagall confiscates it for testing. And Ron is furious with Hermione.
Absolutely livid. He sees it as a betrayal, spoiling Harry's amazing gift, creates a huge rift between them.
Meanwhile, the anti-Dementor lessons continue. Harry's struggling. Conjuring a Patronus forces him to access intense joy, but the Dementor boggart keeps bringing back the memory of his parents dying.
It's incredibly difficult, emotionally draining work. Lupin is patient, encouraging.
Until Snape barges in during one lesson. Brings Lupin a potion, makes nasty comments about Harry being average, just like his father James.
Ugh, Snape. He just can't help himself. But his cruelty actually triggers something in Harry, thinking about his dad, defending him.
He produces his best Patronus yet. Not solid, still cloudy, but definitely stronger, driven by that anger and love for his father.
Interesting how Snape inadvertently helped him there.
Then, real drama. The fat lady's portrait, guarding Gryffindor Tower, is attacked again, ripped apart.
She's replaced by Sir Cadogan, that slightly mad knight in armor who loves changing the password constantly.
And one night, Sirius Black gets into Gryffindor Tower, right into the boys' dormitory.
Ron wakes up, sees Black standing over him with a knife. Terrifying.
Black escapes, but how did he get in? Turns out Neville.
Poor Neville. He'd written down all of Sir Cadogan's passwords on a list because he kept forgetting them, and he lost the list.
So Black must have found it. Neville's in tears, feels terrible. McGonagall is furious.
What a security nightmare. Black was inside the castle, right in their dorm.
Despite all that, life goes on, including the Quidditch final. Gryffindor versus Slytherin, the big one.
And Gryffindor wins. After a very dirty game from Slytherin, Harry catches the snitch. They finally win the Quidditch Cup.
Huge celebration. But the joy doesn't last long. News arrives about Buckbeak's appeal.
It was lost. Lucius Malfoy's influence worked. Buckbeak is sentenced to be executed at sunset that very day.
Hagrid is devastated, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione know they have to do something.
They decide to go down to comfort Hagrid, using the invisibility cloak, maybe try and help somehow.
They're in Hagrid's cabin, trying to console him. Dumbledore and Fudge are on their way down for the execution, and Ron finds Scabbers hiding in a milk jug.
Scabbers, who everyone thought was dead, maybe eaten by Crookshanks, but he looks terrified, thinner than ever. Odd.
They hear the execution party arriving, so they slip out the back under the cloak, just as Hagrid lets Buckbeak out into the pumpkin patch.
They hide in the forest edge, watch Fudge, Dumbledore, the executioner, go inside Hagrid's hut. Then they hear the thud of the axe. They think Buckbeak is dead.
Horrible moment. But as they're heading back, heartbroken, Scabbers suddenly bites Ron and makes a run for it.
Ron chases him, and then this huge black dog appears out of nowhere.
The Grim, or at least what looks like it. It attacks Ron, grabs his leg, and drags him towards the Whomping Willow.
Drags him right into that hole at the base of the tree, disappearing down a tunnel.
Harry and Hermione don't hesitate, they dive after him. Crookshanks somehow knows how to freeze the tree and follows them too.
They end up in a tunnel that leads to the Shrieking Shack, the most haunted building in Britain, supposedly.
Inside, it's dusty, dilapidated. They find Ron, his leg broken, and the black dog is there, and it transforms.
Into Sirius
Shocking reveal.
Yeah.
He's an animagus, a wizard who can turn into an animal.
And just as Harry's about to attack him, Lupin bursts in. He saw them on the Marauders map. But instead of helping Harry, he hugs Sirius like a long-lost friend.
What? Total confusion. Then Lupin starts explaining. He disarms them, reveals he is a werewolf.
Lycanthropy. That's why he was ill every month. And that the map was made by him, Moony, Sirius, Padfoot the dog, James Potter, Prongs, a stag, and Peter Pettigrew,
And Pettigrew.
Lupin points at Ron's pocket, where Scabbers is hiding. He forces the rat out, forces him to transform.
And it's Peter Pettigrew. Alive? Missing a finger.
Mind blown. Pettigrew was the secret keeper. Pettigrew betrayed the Potters. Pettigrew faked his own death, framed Sirius, and has been hiding as Ron's pet rat for 12 years.
Unbelievable cowardice and betrayal. Sirius is innocent. He wasn't trying to attack Ron, he was trying to get Pettigrew.
Pettigrew tries to deny it, grovels, pleads. But Sirius and Lupin know the truth. They were all friends. James, Sirius, and Peter became animagi illegally to help Lupin during his werewolf transformations on the full moon. That's why the shack was built, the tunnel under the willow, so Lupin could transform safely away from people.
Amazing backstory. So they decided to take Pettigrew back to the castle, expose him, clear Sirius's name.
But as they emerge from the tunnel, the full moon is out. Lupin forgot his wolfsbane potion, thanks to Snape earlier.
Oh no, he transforms into a full werewolf, dangerous, out of control.
Sirius, as the dog Padfoot tries to protect the kids, fights the werewolf Lupin. Pettigrew sees his chance, transforms back into a rat, and escapes in the chaos.
Disaster. Just when they had him. Then, Dementors arrive. Dozens of them, converging on Sirius, Harry, and Hermione by the lake.
They start feeding. Harry tries a Patronus, but it's weak. Sirius is fading. Hermione, too. It looks like the end.
But then across the lake, a powerful silvery Patronus appears. A stag, maybe. It drives all the Dementors away. Harry thinks it might be his dad, then passes out.
He wakes up in the hospital wing. Snape is there, telling Fudge a twisted version of events. Sirius attacked them. Lupin helped him. Harry's confused.
Fudge is ready to have Sirius given the Dementor's kiss soul removed. Horrifying. But Dumbledore arrives.
Dumbledore listens calmly, then speaks privately to Harry and Hermione. He believes their story about Sirius being innocent, but Fudge won't listen without Pettigrew.
So Dumbledore gives them a cryptic hint. More than one innocent life may be spared tonight. If you succeed, 3 turns should do it. And he locks them in the hospital wing.
Hermione understands. She pulls out a time turner, a device the Ministry gave her via McGonagall so she could attend multiple classes at the same time.
Incredible. That's her secret. They turn it back 3 hours.
And now they have to relive those hours, unseen, and change things. Save Sirius and Buckbeak without altering anything else too much.
It's brilliant. They see themselves going down to Hagrid's. They hide. Hermione throws a rock through Hagrid's window to make them leave earlier, just before Fudge arrives, so they don't see Buckbeak inside.
Then they untie Buckbeak while Hagrid's back is turned signing the execution order and lead him into the forest just as the executioner swings his axe at a pumpkin.
Buckbeak is saved. Step 1. Then they wait. They see Lupin transform. The fight, the Dementors attacking their past selves by the lake.
And Harry realizes that powerful Patronus he saw across the lake, there's no one else there. It has to be him.
He runs out, thinks of Sirius, of his parents, and casts the Patronus, a fully formed, powerful, silvery stag. It drives the Dementors away from his past self and Sirius.
Amazing moment. He realizes he could do it because he'd already done it. Time travel paradox.
They then fly Buckbeak up to the tower where Sirius is being held, rescue him, and Sirius escapes on Buckbeak.
Incredible rescue. They get back to the hospital wing just as Dumbledore locks the door on their past selves. Perfect timing.
Fudge returns, furious that Sirius has escaped. Snape is incandescent with rage, accusing Harry. But there's no proof.
Dumbledore handles it all calmly. Sirius is gone. Buckbeak is gone.
But there are consequences. Snape lets slip that Lupin is a werewolf, so Lupin has to resign. Prejudice wins there, sadly.
It's a sad outcome for Lupin. He's the best defense teacher they'd had.
Dumbledore has a final word with Harry, praises his Patronus, and makes that interesting point about Pettigrew. Saving his life means Pettigrew now owes Harry a debt. That might be important someday.
Yeah, a life debt to a wizard like Pettigrew. Could go either way, couldn't it?
As they leave Hogwarts on the train, Harry gets an owl. It's from Sirius. He's safe, sends Harry the Hogsmeade permission form, officially signed by him as godfather.
A great moment for Harry. Finally, that connection and validation.
And Sirius tells Ron he can keep the owl as a replacement for Scabbers. A new, much less treacherous pet.
A nice touch. A slightly more hopeful end to a really dark and complex year.
So we're wrapping this up for you, the learner. This dive into Prisoner of Azkaban really brings out themes like friendship, loyalty, massive betrayal, prejudice against werewolves and hippogriffs, and how complex truth and justice can be.
Yeah, and those aha moments are huge, right? Finding out who Sirius really is, who Pettigrew is, the Animagus secrets, the werewolf reveal, the time turner. It completely changes the game.
Hopefully walking through it like this gave you that thorough understanding without feeling overwhelming. We hit the key plot twists and character arcs.
It's a year where Harry, Ron, and Hermione face some really adult problems and navigate them with bravery, loyalty, and intelligence. Well, mostly.
Definitely. Okay, here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider Harry's act of saving Peter Pettigrew. Dumbledore hinted at a life debt. What might the long-term ripples of that decision be? How could Pettigrew possibly repay that debt? And what does Harry's mercy towards the man who betrayed his parents say about his own character?
That's a deep one. It questions the nature of good, evil, and consequence. Definitely something to chew on.
We absolutely encourage you to keep exploring the Harry Potter series. Look for those deeper themes. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.